Just in terms of the superventilation and the kind of practices taking things further, do you advocate that everybody should sort of be looking into doing that? It's a kind of superpower and a drug that replaces the other sorts of drugs that people revert to?
I think that oftentimes when we get into how a lot of people find breath work is through hyperventilative or superventilation techniques where we're doing over breathing. We're getting a lot of times these are very popular because they make you feel really good. And this is where when we practice the language of breath, we're really focusing on listening. We're really focusing on that awareness. So anytime we do any kind of breathing technique, and within the language of breath, it's a philosophy of breath work. It's not a specific technique. So we have all kinds of different techniques, superventilative. We have kinds that would be considered specifically to CO2 tolerance training, autonomic nervous system protocols, all sorts of different techniques. But when we practice with the language of breath, and when you're really wanting to get the most out of your breathwork practice, you want to make sure that you're always able to be aware. And sometimes when we practice these hyperventilative techniques, it's for the purpose of just getting high, or it's the purpose of numbing ourselves, as opposed to forming that better union within ourselves. So when you practice, for instance, the superventilation, or we call it the interruption protocol, or the hypoxic focused awareness exercise in the language of breath book, when you practice these techniques, there's always an element of interoception involved. And what that is ultimately our sense of internal awareness. So what that means is, as we're practicing this, we are actively listening to the response of the unconscious. And when we do this, we can become really more comfortable with those stress signals, because when we practice hyperventilation, or when we practice, sometimes I like to call it superventilation, because it's just you're in control of it. It's not like you're hyperventilating uncontrollably. When we practice those, with control, we can start to learn to become more comfortable with the voice of the unconscious, which is, it's sending you a stress signal. It's saying, okay, here are some stress signals, and we can start to become more comfortable with those things as well. So I'm a big fan of superventilation. I use it a lot, but it's something that you want to practice without trying to dissociate or use it as, like you say, as a replacement for a drug. We want to try to use it as a way to become more comfortable and more at one with ourselves and that unconscious part of you that's trying to speak to you.
And what would you say, in the time that you've been learning about, teaching and practicing breath work, is the most extraordinary thing you've discovered, whether it be simple or whether it be complicated, the thing that just you wouldn't believe what it can do?
I would say that it's the one thing that you'll never forget in your car. It costs nothing other than the time and some money to learn how to use it. And it's something that allows you to become more in touch with a part of you that's always been there. And again, we've been struggling with since we've been human. And I mean, it's the thing that can help us become in a proper state to eat or sleep, or to have activities or things like that. It's always there. And it's never something that you'll ever just compartmentalize. Even if you don't practice breath work, your breathing is influencing everything in you. All 37.2 trillion cells are being influenced by how you breathe. Your blood sugar, your adrenaline, your noradrenaline, your all of your hormones are being influenced, because your breathing is the one thing that influences everything.
Okay, another question from Madeline. In a world that only really values growth and productivity, work rate, etc., breathing consciously and gently must seem to be like an unnecessary waste of time. So when you're trying to convince the world, should you appeal to the fact that breathing makes us less anxious and therefore more productive? Or should you say breathing can be a good thing in itself, regardless of productivity?
I love that question because you're so right. And I think oftentimes we look at breath work as the thing that is just, well, okay, we're going to sit here and light the candles, and it has nothing to offer us in any other aspect of life. I would do, and I've heard this. I would do breath work, but I'm too busy. I would do breath work, but I want to. I'm more of a go-getter, and I'm not just the type of. Not a kumbaya type of person. And it's such a misunderstanding of what we are as humans, because we are. I don't care what you think, we are creatures, we're organisms of action. And every part of us, all 37.2 trillion cells, they're working together to put you into the right state to take the right actions. And so often, and this is, I think we can all relate to this. We've all had rumination or analysis paralysis, right? We know what that is. I just can't stop thinking about it, but I almost feel paralyzed. I can't make any move because I'm afraid. I'm too afraid to move. I have too much anxiety, like you mentioned. Well, what that is it's your conscious and unconscious are not working together. You got to understand the unconscious you is capable of processing enormous amounts of information, but it can't think about the future. It can't think about the past. It's only living in the present. And it can't critically think. It's not going to be able to really analyze something. But your conscious self, the conscious parts of your thinking, they can think about the future, the past, they can critically analyze. So you might be thinking about something that's going to happen tomorrow, right? Consciously. I'm thinking about that thing. And the unconscious part of you is saying, oh my God. And it doesn't understand it's not happening right now. So it's going to activate you, right? We call this rumination. We call this anxiety. And so it ruins, and you don't get a good night's sleep. The next day, you don't take actions the way you could have if you would have been well rested. But if you could speak calm into that relationship, you'd sleep better, right? And then the next day, you go to your job interview or whatever it was that was making you feel that anxiety. And I don't know how many of you, we can relate. Sometimes we say in the modern world, we say, I was too in my head, right? Well, we want to be in that state of flow. And what that state of flow ultimately is when we can start relying on the unconscious. We can be relaxed enough so that the unconscious parts of you can just kind of take over. That sometimes we call that being in the zone in sports. Well, what happens is if we have disconnection here, then it's not going to happen. But if we can use our breath to dial back our autonomic arousal, dial it back, let that unconscious know, hey, we're safe. You can relax a little bit. Then you're taking actions boldly and with confidence because you're in alignment. You're able to critically think, and that unconscious part of you is like, okay, here's the appropriate amount of energy for this situation. You're not shaking. You're not paralyzed. You're not, sometimes we say fight, flight, or freeze. You're not doing any of the deer in the headlights. You're able to take action. You're able to be more productive because the team that is you. And so in the Language of Breath book, I talk about how the most healthy you is a team. When these two parts of you are working together, you'll be surprised at how much more you get done, how much more relaxed you feel, how much better you are after you're done doing the thing, how you can relax more easily. You're connecting with other people far more easily because you've got this team that's working together. Thank you so much for that question. That was brilliant.
Thank you very much indeed for that question. I said the how-to questions, audience questions are always superb. And Raki Wood says, what is the best technique for reducing inflammation in the body? When is the best time to practice and for how long?
Okay, so when it comes to this sort of thing, we have to understand that there's more nuance to it. So it's a little bit more complex than, hey, because you are more than a machine where we can type in a code and say, this is the thing that's going to reduce inflammation. And that is sometimes how we we look at breath work. Hey, here's a simple technique to reduce inflammation. And this is the best time, and just type in the code. So I understand the question. I just want to kind of put that as a premise. And when you read my book, you'll understand I kind of unpack that, but I don't want to unpack it all right now, but because we don't have time. But I want to give you something that you can take with you right now. But definitely take a look at how I explain this, because I think it'll help you make sense of it even more. But ultimately, what we want to try to do is try to reduce inflammation by helping ourselves to relax. Oftentimes, what happens is when we have pain, the unconscious is saying, okay, we must be in danger, and it activates your physiology. So it's very difficult to relax. When it's difficult to relax, you can't recover very well. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to allow ourselves to recover. And so what we want to try to do is breathe low, slow through the nose. And the technique that we mentioned before, in for 4, out for 8, if you can manage to stay with that for long periods of time, that's going to be the best thing that will give you the healing that you need. Now, in the moment, if you're looking for some kind of maybe some pain relief in the moment, there are more active techniques that can speak to the unconscious. Hey, give me some of the good stuff. Give me some of the happy chemicals, the pain-killing chemicals, the things that are going to, and one of those is norepinephrine, which is a very strong anti-inflammatory. And that would be something that is going to be more active because you are activating the sympathetic nervous system. It's not a long-term plan, so don't rely on techniques like that. It's just, man, I'm really hurting right now, and I don't want to take an Advil. I want to do something more natural, something that's more healthy for myself. So in that case, you might do a technique that I love to call sniff, sniff, poo. And I would love to guide you through it right now. It's also, sometimes people call this different names. I call it sniff, sniff, poo. You're not going to forget it, are you?
Oh.
Because I mean, it's such a silly name. When I became a dad, there was a gene activated that makes me like cheesy dad jokes. So I said, okay, sniff, sniff, poo is going to be the way I say this from now on. But what we're going to do is we're going to inhale for 2 sniffs, okay, through the nose, and the exhale is going to be out through the mouth. And you're going to inhale to about 70% full on the first sniff, and then to about 100%, like a big, big full gulp on the second one. And then we're going to relax it out for a poo. And you don't have to say poo, but anyway, you're going to go sniff, sniff. Okay.
So 70% full.
That's right. And I know on Zoom, my microphone probably is going to make it so you can't hear my inhale, but I'll just use my hands here, and maybe I'll just guide you through with my voice. So let's just do 5 of these together. And again, this is just to help you get through this moment, because ultimately for most of us, and it's going to depend on why you have the inflammation and all these other things. So again, all of these questions are more complex, and so there's no simple fix to just, sometimes I don't want to say there's clickbait, right? So it's not just one simple, thing, but this thing can really help us feel better. So let's do it. All right. So everybody kind of be in a place. Please don't do this if you're driving or if you're in the bathtub. If you're running from a wildebeest, you can try it, but anyway, we're going to try this. So here we go. So let's just take a deep breath, so we're all in the same breath. So deep breath in and relax it out. All right. And so we're going to go sniff, 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 sniff. One more, sniff, sniff, and just go into normal breathing. And you may notice a euphoric feeling, a nice relaxed feeling. You might feel kind of good. That is okay. That is good. It's good to feel good, right? Now, there are a lot of techniques that claim, hey, you do this technique, it will eliminate inflammation and all these things. But I will tell you just to beware, because it depends on why the inflammation's there. A lot of the answers that you get in life are unsatisfying whenever they are, well, it depends, right? And I hate to be that guy, right? But I'm a dad and I have to give it to my son all the time. So it depends. But if you can stay in a parasympathetic state, so you can stay relaxed using that 4 in, 8 out, as long as you can, you're going to likely heal. That, for many cases, the inflammation is there to show, hey, this is where I need healing. Okay, so we need to turn on the healing side, right? Let the unconscious do what it does so well, which is healing. You don't consciously decide to heal. That's you, but it's the unconscious you. Now, if it's chronic, oh man, I just need a break. Sniff, sniff, poo is a great choice. Lastly, I'm going to share this last technique with you, and I'll take as many questions as you like. Is one that I call the cadence of bliss, and it's very short, very, very quick. We're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, expanding the ribs, really expanding them. We're going to hold our breath for 7 seconds with absolutely full lungs, and then we're going to exhale for 8 seconds. And it's going to be a nice relaxed exhale for 8. So try to make it nice and smooth. We're just going to do this 4 times, and then we'll move to the next question. All right. So
I think this might
be it.
This might be the finale, but that is perfect.
What a great way to go.
We'll invite you back for more questions if you'll come. But yes, so let's do this together as a last. Yeah.
So this is great for everyone. This is one that is just very blissful and very, very pleasant. So, okay, so we're going to take a deep breath in all the way in. So we're just going to be on the same breath. So here we go. And then let it out. All right, now we're going to breathe in, belly, ribs, chest, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Breathe in, belly, ribs, chest, hold with full lungs. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, belly, ribs, chest, hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Last one. In, belly, ribs, chest, hold and smile. It supercharges it. 5, 6, 7, out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And go back into normal breathing.
Honestly, I am very, very sad to say that that's our hour over, because it's been so wonderful talking to you. And I feel like actually one of the most practical and useful how-to hours that I can remember. So hopefully we might be able to steal you back for another session, because it's wonderful having you with us. Thank you so much. And yes, I'm definitely talking to the boss and going to ask for a session 2 for you. And I'm sure everyone watching will agree. And I should say to anyone watching, if you think this will benefit people that you know who haven't signed in, it's available on the How To Academy website under the videos for members and How To Plus subscribers. And also, of course, eventually, and hopefully not too long, it will be released as a podcast for all and everyone. So thank you so much, Jesse. Thank you very, very much. And email us his name and book, please. Oh, well, his name, Jesse, you do a last goodbye with your...
Yeah, I would love to give you my book is The Language of Breath, and my name is Jesse Coomer. You can find me at jessecoomer.com, or you can Google The Language of Breath, and you can find this it's in pre-order. It comes out on October 24th worldwide, and you can pre-order now. We're also doing a challenge, so that I'm going to guide people through 6 weeks of, you get the book and you come through the course with me, and we're going to do this together. So if you really want to take the deep dive, get on my e-list, and I'll let you know when that starts. We're doing a free challenge to kind of get your feet wet. And then we've got a whole big thing that we're going to be doing with the book launch. So all kinds of fun things coming up.
Wonderful. Okay, well, we had it here first in October. That's very exciting for us. Jesse, thank you very, very much indeed.
Thanks so much for having me.